Okay, guys. Just real quick, I talked to a detective last night for probably at least an hour. Um, Whoops, that popped up on my screen. At least an hour. I had talked to a detective last night about my son. Um, I don't know where my son is, and whoops. So we have a detective here. One of the things he asked was, is dad involved in his life? And I said no. And then he had said, was dad ever close to him? And I said, yes. I said, as a matter of fact, we homeschooled our kids. We homeschooled together. Dad was supportive. I don't know why this thing keeps popping up. There we go. And and I said, and actually he chose just to have one job so that he could be home with his sons. So yeah, dad was close to my son. I mean, they used to wrestle, they used to watch TV together, they used to go out places together. They used to, I still have memories of my husband having his Nova, and my son was my second born, is who I'm talking about, was very colicky as a baby. And I remember we used to have to take him for a ride, and he used to laugh going over the bumps. Um, so he just an amazing guy, just amazing. He has a very uh, strong, loving personality. Just very fun to be around. I remember me and my husband would be like, every time we took him out, he was just so enjoyable to be with. I mean, he would sit there and be, kind of quiet in the vehicle, talk a little bit, and just be very content as a young kid with just being out with us. And, dad would say the same thing. And what I need to do today is the detective asked for dental records, and I don't know that I have those with me or if they're in storage. So I've got to try to go through some of my paperwork. Um, he asked if he has tattoos, and he has a few. So, that that makes me feel like, okay, he's asking for dental records, so that can be a worst case scenario, right? So hopefully my son is doing good. He could just honestly be like off doing his own thing, and I'm worrying for nothing, but I don't think so. I think there is a safety concern here where the police had found him already in New Hampshire, and it looked like he had a mental breakdown. I was talking to somebody who said usually a mental breakdown is like a slow process. You can see it. If someone's on drugs, it's boom, you see it immediately, right? So I think that's the difference here. And whether he, took drugs or not, he's still my son, and there's unconditional love for him. And I think there is a real concern here. It's not just, this is the first time nobody's heard from him in quite a while. Usually, if I hadn't heard from him in a while, I would see him again or hear from him. When I went to New Hampshire in June, it was really strange because I knew he was camping, but I had prayed that God would let me see him. And I had gone to McDonald's on Loudon Road, and I was just like, okay, get work as soon as you get here, because I didn't know if I was staying in Colorado or New Hampshire. So I had someone say, come on up here, we'll interview you. And I was there, and I had prayed I'd see my son. So I was sitting there, I was waiting for an interview, and I just happened to be, praying that I might see him. And he had walked in, and he's like, Mom? And I'm like, "Oh my goodness," And so that was definitely God. And I saw him, and we sat down and we talked, and we had, he had the rest of my food. We had a really good conversation. We had gone over to Planet Fitness. He had showered. We had what else did we do? I thought we did something else. He had helped me with storage over there. So one of the last texts I have from him was, I wish I had more time with you when you came to New Hampshire. And I'm like, hey, I was busy with doing storage. Don't worry about it. So I had built him up, and he was like, I heard a lot of people, and I'm like, hey, live and learn, don't worry about it. So, my son is somebody who takes things very much to the heart, very much hard on himself in life. So I've got to pull that together today or as soon as I can. And then, when the detective said, did you take your kids to the dentist? I'm like, well, yeah, of course. I have to do that as a mother, or I'd be in trouble, right, for neglect. And, I told him usually where I take them. What else? And the same thing, I told him, how my husband left when I came over here to Colorado. We had agreed that I would come over here. My husband was like, well, I don't really want you to go over there because I'm going to miss you. And I go, look, what else do you want me to do? We have a minor. So like I said, I could have been homeless with my husband and it wouldn't have bothered me. But where we had a minor, it was my responsibility as well as his to make sure that he was provided for, and that's what I did. So I came over here and made sure my minor had housing. And if I didn't, I would have been in trouble, right? Because that was my responsibility and my husband wasn't picking it up. So I made sure that was done. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I had to, we had covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So I am working on some stuff to hopefully, my son's going to be okay. But I will keep an update on that. Okay, guys, thanks.